why don't you fill in a little bit about the backstory? So I did not know that you were that involved in dance. With some of the dance athletes that I have worked with in the past, dance is probably one of the most rigorous things that your body goes through, with the time demands of how many times you practice, all of the performances that you guys have to prepare for. So talk about that a little bit. Growing up, what kind of sacrifices, time commitments did dance take up? And did that take a toll on your body?
Yeah. It required a lot, especially once I started doing competition dance. And when my teachers formed their own studio, it was this girl and her sister. It took up, I pretty much lived at the studio. I would come home from school, get ready, go to dance. I'd come home in the evening. And then on the weekends, we had our competition group. So we had a requirement, we had to go to 3 hours at least of ballet a week, plus take other classes. And they had unlimited classes throughout the week we could choose and take. And then I did the competition group on the weekends, and we would just stay there all day and go through one routine after another, after another,
Mhm.
after another. And we traveled a little bit too. And, it was definitely all year round.
Mhm.
And if they didn't see you in the summertime, then they'd let you know about it. It wasn't
Yes. How long was your typical practice during the week?
spend about, probably at least 2 hours a
Mhm.
night, but minus maybe 1 or 2 nights. But I would spend about 2 hours a night at the studio.
Got it.
I was on dance team at school too, which that was just kind of something I did to be involved. It wasn't,
Uh-huh.
it was a time commitment, but it wasn't a serious thing. It was more what I was involved with at the studio was more serious. They were really, even though we were in the suburbs of Kansas City, which you wouldn't think to have a lot of serious dancers just in the Midwest. But the studio I was at, I was just lucky. Like I just got really good
Yeah.
training from these girls. They were very serious about becoming dancers and training dancers. And so I was really lucky to get the training I got. And I would say I spent about 10 hours a week outside of school
Okay.
at the studio.
Got it. And thinking back to fill in for some of the listeners, what does competitive dancing entail? And you can share a little bit about what some of your favorite types of dance were growing up.
Yeah. Well, competitive dancing it's different. It's different depending on where you're dancing, but basically there are these competition companies that travel around, and you could choose which ones you're going to go to. Of course, your studio chooses, we're going to do this one, this one, this one, and you sign up and you go there and you spend all week there. And I would usually be in about 7 or 8 routines. And so you look at your schedule, you show up, and it's pretty high energy. Like people are very excited. You get on stage, people are screaming for you. And then they have their lineup, you get a certain score, and then they take the highest scores. And then sometimes you may compete again in the end in the final round, but they'll have the overall scores. And so the goal is to get it into the overalls, like the top 10 of the weekend routines and things like that. But, looking back in hindsight, competition dance was a great experience. I'm really glad I did it. It was very serious. It took up a lot. It took a lot of time and practice and dedication. Looking back though, in hindsight, if I had just taken classes, like an unlimited amount of classes, it probably would have maybe been more beneficial, because when you're in competition, you're focusing on the same routines, which there's benefit to that too. And it trains you for getting ready for the professional world, if that's where you want to go. But then I think in hindsight, there's a lot more you can do with just having teachers training you, focusing on technique and taking more, but which we did that too. But
Got it. So
yeah.
with these competitions, are they across all different styles of dance, or what was primarily your specialty, I guess?
My specialty was jazz,
Okay.
like jazz and lyrical. When people ask me about dance, or when I say I've been a dancer, they assume that I am a ballerina. And I've had a lot of training in ballet. I had to but I used ballet more for technique to transfer to the styles that I found to be really fun. And that was like jazz and lyrical, modern, those styles.